I don't think Jimmy was in jail until him and Ronnie was in jail together. You think like, I imagine, if I'm right, and I think I am, because, and then you think like, he turned out one child. Well, the woman that he got married to, the woman before me, she hadn't had any children. Well, the child that he turned out, she would be about 8 years younger than I am. She'd be maybe 53.
Yeah.
I wasn't very old whenever his, her mother would have had her. But anyway, you take like, he didn't really when he's talked about little ones, he's talking about children. I said, John, I said, you really don't know anything about children. I said, to really know them, you gotta rear them.
Yeah.
And you've got to have, and to understand them, you've got to love them, and you've got to try to understand them and all.
Yeah.
But anyway, as a rule, tiny little babies, he likes. When they start even getting a little older,
Old enough to walk.
old enough, right? Old enough to walk and to maybe get into,
Anything.
turn stuff down on them, you know. So, anyway, there was a Halloween time one time that the kids went out and trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, and I think, you know, knowing how he's talking about children,
Yeah.
he's got great-grandchildren. He hasn't even seen. He has grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
And like the older grandchildren. And if he sees them, unless one of them calls out and says, "Hi, Grandpa," he doesn't know them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's how much he's not been, you know.
Around the kids.
What I mean, if he would have gone so much for children, you would hear him say sometimes, "Well, I haven't seen mine since I'd like to see him," you know, like that.
So what
you
was
know,
the Halloween?
It was probably all the kids. You know, the way that it would have been like Jimmy and Mary, and I imagine it could have been Joey and Ginger too. Anyway, there were a few of them, maybe all of them, that would have got together because, you know, your mama knows, like older ones will go to take the little ones, and they'll all go.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like if they've got any, you can't really know if they're. But anyway, if I'm not mistaken, his and Clara's place is one place they would have gone. And anyway, it was supposed to. Then they didn't get anything, and they'd be more chased away.
Yeah.
And another person I think that would have been that way was where we first lived in Sandoval, the Kurtz.
Yeah.
They didn't like to be bothered. I mean, but it was like threw apples at the house or something and busted. Now I don't know whether that happened.
They threw apples and busted the window.
You know how.
Trick or treat.
You know how children, they're great for collecting apples. People are great for giving them. And then, you know, instead of, well, I guess it was they thought they were cheaper. But anyway, it was either John's and Kerr's place or their place and the Kerr's place.
Yeah.
The way that they talked, how...
I'm not sure they played with her.
Oh, she loves to have somebody play with her. But if I'm not mistaken, they, whenever they was talking about ones that didn't treat her real good, surely that's not all that Jimmy would have stopped to do. I know. Or Joe. I mean, what was it one time they took a back house? They took a back house, took a back privy,
I'm up here.
and
I gotta keep.
Uptown someplace.
What's this?
Took a toilet, parked it uptown someplace. I don't remember. You have to ask your dad what he did with it.
but there would have been a few in on it, and it would have.
I who it was.
They
It
call
was
him
that Billy that used to live next door. Was that his name, Billy?
Billy Joe.
Yeah. Him and
He could have been in
when
on
they
it.
was in their early teens and just starting to drive, they'd steal people's toilets and go put them uptown or something.
There would have been a few in on it, and there wasn't anything I don't think that faced any of them.
Will you tell us about those kind of things for Pat there?
Well, I believe so. I believe so. The night before, since I don't never really get to go, you know. Anyway, there was Pat's other husband, you know, had the children. Steve had taken the children, because I said, where's the children? She said, Steve's got them. And then they're supposed to have a lady. Now, maybe you saw her when you were there. Did you see a lady, a little 4-year-old girl?
When? Where?
We haven't been up there yet.
Pat's?
Oh, you not been at Pat's?
We just
No.
called and he's not there.
Oh,
Working.
I thought maybe you stopped by.
No, we didn't stop.
I didn't
back up there.
I didn't know. I thought maybe you
Yeah,
stopped
we
by.
got to head up pretty quick because
Well,
Pat's gonna be
anyway.
business there.
Anyway, I thought maybe that you stopped by.
No.
Well, anyway, she was talking about how her lady friend from church or somebody left her husband. And she's got a little 4-year-old girl. And when she put away Pat talk, she's been staying in her capital. And yet, she does a whole lot to help Pat out.
Yeah.
Well, like to begin with, because you take like we're all poor people, and when we can afford a maid,
Yeah.
but Jimmy said the other night, like the evening of the 3rd,
Yeah.
before last. It wasn't too awful late. They come in the truck, and so I was trying to explain to Pat that Darlene over there wasn't just right.
Yeah.
That her granddaughter-in-law, they'd gone to your daddy's place, and Brad said, I think Brad needed help on the card, wasn't sure. But anyway, Darlene was telling Pat, said, Grandma's been doing, you know, and I guess she said Margie, or maybe she said Jim's mom, her laundry.
Yeah.
Well, that would have made it sound like she sold everything, which that wasn't true. And I told Pat I'd even had to be, every day I'd had to be on my feet. There was for the first time he was put in, and they had him in there for a few days, and let him out, and he was going to have to go right back in. 2 different times. And the last time, a lot of the days. And I mean to tell you, I've not got that many kind of clothes. And I don't see that much of Pat.
Yeah.
Your daddy, he does work a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he works pretty steady. And then he's been hauling furniture, too. Which is going to start out again. The 15th is going to go to Pennsylvania and haul another great big bunch of furniture.
Well, do you want to ride back up there with us?
Well, I don't think guess I better leave him. Why, you don't mind this? You don't mind to go?
No, we're going to go back up there because we're waiting to see him. He's
Yeah.
supposed to be calling in at 2 o'clock. He
Oh,
should
really?
be.
Yeah, he probably is.
He was going to call Pat?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was going to
she-
call in at 2 and she'd tell him that Julie was here and hoping that he was going to come on home then.
Yeah, see what else he had to do for the day.
Well, he would want to see you.
Oh, I'm sure. We'll see him for sure before we take him.
Say, he would want
You
to
know,
see you.
since maybe you're having problems remembering stuff about Jimmy or whatever, you know what might even be better? See, like I said, this is for my kids and grandkids and everything. Maybe you can tell me some stuff about, your childhood or your parents. Because
They
that's
were
farther.
stripped.
See, that's,
They were, let me tell you one thing, just one little thing, if I'd been out of line, I wouldn't have lived to tell about it. They were that strict. You know, now, your mama knew Grandma Quinlin.
yeah.
And she was good. She was strict.
You got any good old tales about something that might have happened or something like that? About your mom or dad, or maybe back when you were young?
I'll never ever forget when I was 7 years old.
Oh, what happened?
And then Aunt Brenda knows, but she was 12. She's 5 years older.
Your sister?
But anyway, yeah. Anyway, we would have been mighty young whenever we would have moved to the great big old homestead.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know whether your mama ever saw that. She would have seen the little place that Grandma would have been first to move in. When the place was torn down, that your daddy
Yeah.
said there's not anything he had dreaded to do. Wasn't anything in his life that he dreaded to do anymore than when he put that hammer in that first nail to bring that house down.
Tore it
He
down.
knew how much that great big old homestead meant to Grandma Quinlin,
Yeah. He had to tear it down.
And so the sister that we don't have anymore, the sister that the girls said we don't have, she died of cancer. She was the one that she had, she had sold the house and all that ground, and now it's, oh my goodness, the Egyptian Concrete Company.
Yeah, I knew where
The
it was.
Egyptian Concrete, all of that was all of our ground.
The one where Jimmy was working?
Your mom will have to
Oh,
take
okay.
Salem. Your mom will have to, maybe sometime you go over there.
Yeah, we can drive.
And all of that ground, we had all that,
That used to be the
There was a good
homestead.
amount, there was a good amount. Anyway, I don't know whether they took the railroad track. It went clear out to the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And what I started to tell you, the way our ground went on out, the outhouse that we had, it was close to the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, it would have been the school was out and all, and we were maybe just running around barefooted.
Yeah.
But anyway, like during the noon hour, but anyway, we'd been told to stay away from the railroad tracks. It was the same. A train could come any time. But according to the way that Brother would have thought, she would have thought, well, this great big bunch of men sitting they were in a circle in the road, you know, sitting in the railroad tracks. Right with it, you know.
Yeah.
They were all in a circle.
Sitting on the
We
track?
didn't know nothing about gambling. We didn't, that
okay.
never, that word wouldn't have never hit our,
Okay.
that's how strict they were.
Uh-huh.
Or, you know, all that. But anyway, the way that she was 5 years older, and naturally I thought, well, if she's not going to listen, Mama, I won't either. But anyway, she said, told us that don't go out to the railroad track. No, they stay away from those men. But we were always supposed to not go around the railroad tracks anyway because it's dangerous. Well, we weren't going to go on the tracks for it, but anyway, the way Brother would have had it figured, she would have wanted to have found out what those men were doing sitting in a circle in those railroad tracks. Well, Nana told us that don't go out there. Said you girls go out there. Said I'm going to get a switch.
Yeah.
And at that time, you see, my father worked away a lot. At that time, he would have been in Odin, working out of Odin. I don't know what he'd been doing. It could have been, you see, he would have, he worked at the Apple House for years and years and years while we lived in Odin. He was a coal miner.
Yeah.
He was a coal miner, and a lot of it, you know, got to his lumps, I guess.
Your father?
He worked underground, too, not up above. He worked way.
Down in the tunnels and in the
Yes,
mines?
he did.
With
For
what?
years, he was
Just
a
with
coal miner.
pickaxe and shovel, huh?
And then, like later on, the doctor had told him if he didn't give it up, he was going to kill him.
Yeah.
Well, a man's got to do what a man's got to do when he's serving the bread and butter for his family.
Oh, yeah.
And so he then turned out 6 girls. He didn't have no boys.
Yeah.
But anyway, 6 girls. There was Aunt Marcella and Aunt Irma and Aunt Floyd. She's in the nursing home.
Well, there were 7.
No. There was 2 miscarriages that she had. She had 2 miscarriages, and she said she thought they would have been boys. She thought they would have been boys, you know. Since she miscarried them.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, there were 6 girls she turned out. There's Aunt Marcella and Aunt Irma, Aunt Floyd, Aunt Elsie, and Aunt Bertha, and myself.
Are you the youngest?
Grandma was the 7th daughter then, of the 7.
She wondered, according to the miscarriages, 'cause she thought she had one after me. You know, she thought she had one after me. And she couldn't carry it. She was pretty sure she was. There was 2 miscarriages she had anyway. Anyway, I believe that she had wondered if I was the 7th of the 7th.
That's what I was remembering.
Something like that.
Yeah.
She had 2 miscarriages. And,
I had heard somebody say that before.
okay, then this next one after me, if it would have been the 8th. I would have been the 7th, and next.
So you were the 7th daughter of the 7th daughter.
Now, she would help me better. See, it would be cooler for her, and maybe she could use more cold drink. I just get thirsty for cold water. Cold water. She doesn't see you, John.
Is it in here, Grandma?
Hi, John. I didn't see you. I can't see you.
Pretty good.
I'll try to tell.
Grandma, is the ice water in here?
Yeah, that's real cold.
This one?
That's real cold. Cold ice water.
Great, just what I needed.
Anything there?
No, she'll feel better in here. Now see, Daisy, it's cool in here. It'll be cooler in here. Turns out. That's why. Oh, it's cold. Well, she could have sat on that pillow if it would have made her better. You would have brought her up
We just
more.
have to pull her up.
You have to get me up. Well,
I don't have strength. I found
Here we
out
go.
to pull me up.
but one of those pillows maybe would have made you sit more comfortable.
Joni?
But
Here's another lawn chair if you want to sit over here, Johnny.
I thought you were just filming my body.
I was, you were in the way. So you were telling me, 7th daughter, the 7th daughter, and you guys were out gambling.
That she's magic.
oh no! Don't you ever believe that, Julie. Not this, well, maybe I got worked the right way.
She's supposed to be.
Yeah, you're still here, Margie.
Well,
So maybe
maybe we don't like to see what we will see.
Yeah.
If it's bad, some things we don't like to speak of or something, unless it's meant to come out that way.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have the right kind of a feeling. I mean, your daddy and I, we'd had just a few words, just the night before, that he not even had that freakish accident.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to see him make a bad mistake again. You know what I mean, Daisy?
Yeah.
Whenever one, you know your feelings you got for your own kids. Like when they've got married, if something didn't work, you know, or it happened again, you've got enough feeling for him, you don't want to see him keep on being hurt, make mistakes.
Doing the same thing.
But we had had just a few words. And anyway, we ended up all right the last time I saw him. John wanted to go fishing, and so we went fishing. But before we went fishing that morning, everything was all right between us. But sometimes I think these guys will, whether they mean to or not, they'll let a female lead them too strong. You maybe never will do that. You maybe never will. But I think it's easy for a lot of males to let a female lead them too strong.
They will.
Wrong way.
Yeah.
And I imagine an awful lot of females, if they know just how to do it,
I found
Oh, yeah.
that box.
they'll do it.
Can't get it.
And it's
So you and Jimmy you were saying you had words the night before he
we
had his
just
accident?
had a few words. I hated seeing him. He was always running out of gas, and that was dangerous. And according to the way that, like your Aunt Ginger lived in Blueford,
Yeah.
and Pat lived down in Blueford in a certain place, and they lived way out. But I mean, it wasn't good not to know how you stood about a car something. And it seemed like your daddy, he was. I'll tell you what happened. You take like, he hadn't fallen. He hadn't fallen and broke his hip. And I was trying to think. I don't know whether your daddy had that freakish accident yet or not. I was trying to think. See, he had that freakish accident before he fell and broke his hip.
Yeah.
But like on my birthday, and I think your daddy had that happen to him.
Before you.
Your daddy had that happen to him. He had that happen to him like on June the 6th. Well, he didn't have that happen to him until that following year, January 26th. But anyway,
She can't remember, and she knows the date.
When were you born?
1922, September the 2nd.
Just wanted to get it on tape.
I knew it was September, but I didn't know when.
But just to go to show you, your daddy could run out of gas with money in his pockets. That's right by it. I mean,
That's
it
what he
happened.
didn't remember to put it in when he should.
Well, it's always, I know what he's doing. It's more like,
Always ran out of
Use
years.
this down the last drop.
You take like this time, they wanted to do something. He wanted to do something good for me, like on my birthday. So I'm pretty sure
and this was,
that was like just so long before he fell. It would have been like 2 days later was his birthday, and that was the day he and Pat got married
he got married on his birthday?
in Paducah, Kentucky.
And when was he
Oh.
born? What year?
42.
42?
September the 4th, 1942.
Yeah, I remember.
During the war.
Yeah. Because Mary May was born October the 22nd, 1940.
Did Grandpa Anderson or anybody else in the family serve like in World War II or any of the wars?
I think it skipped him.
Yeah.
I think that it just skipped
Did
him.
anybody in your
Because he'd
family?
been, he got married. He'd been married. He had Charlene, and she was, she depended on him. He had to hand over money to get her taken care of.
Did anybody else in your family life serve in the wars or anything like that?
They were all
Yeah.
girls.
Well, that's right. You were all
Yeah, it was
girls.
all girls.
We they were all girls.
Because
Like
my dad was in.
Grandma Quinlin's kids, they were all girls.
Yeah.
So any of the ones that I would, like Aunt Bertha's boys or Aunt Marcella's boys, like one of those,
Some of it, what would be your cousins,
like
or second cousins.
something like that, one of them, you take like Aunt Marcella's boy, one of them, Therendale, he would have served in the Army and the Navy, and then he would be,
In World War
he
II?
would still be a guard whenever he would have got a real good position. He would have a real good.
Oh, you mean when he was in World War II? Was he in World War II?
No, that would have been younger. That'd been
Oh,
That
before
was
the war?
age.
Oh,
It's like
his
his
age?
age.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, I don't know just how old Therendale was because he's 4 years younger than I am.
Oh, but it would
He
be.
was 4 years younger than I am, Therendale. And he would have been in the Army.
Yeah,
and
that'd
Navy.
been war.
yeah, then he could have been World War II.
And that's what I would have been. He's 4 years younger. Well, anyway, a position he would have got, you know, later on. A good position.
Yeah.
I believe he still is guard out of Pontiac. You remember whenever there was all that awful tragedy that happened, a riot? I don't know whether you would have heard about it, but anyway,
Pontiac is a prison that you, is that what you're talking about?
Therendale was a guard,
Yeah.
like that was so far.
Pontiac?
Uh-huh.
And that's a prison out there?
Oh, yeah.
That's down.
In Pontiac,
That's
it's
north.
close
so
to
it-
Dwight.
Yeah, Pontiac is up north.
Pontiac.
North,
I was thinking Menard. Pontiac is up by
Yeah.
Joliet.
And anyway, I guess he was pretty fortunate that he didn't, you know, wasn't right in it or he got shot. He maybe was around there because whenever I was hearing all about it, I thought of Therendale working out of Pontiac and being, so I don't know. Sometimes I think it's things like that, the pressure and strain, because Aunt Marcella talked like one time to me that she thought Therendale picked up drinking a little too much.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think he'll do it. I mean, they won't mean for it to. They'll maybe just going to take a drink.
Yeah.
Or maybe the next time.
Just a little more.
So are you a drinker of beer?
About a little bit.
Not bad.
It never gets any worse than
No,
that.
he's not drinking much.
You take like,
If he has, he don't come home so I can see him anyway.
yeah, well, he maybe doesn't.
No,
But
I don't think
you
so.
take like, at one time, you know, whenever he would go fishing a lot, when he would go fishing and we'd have fish, he may like to get a 6-pack and maybe one can. We'd split a can of beer between us, which really, now I don't see anything wrong with that. They have some real cold beer, and the way we would split one can,
Yeah.
and maybe the rest, unless Mary May or your daddy would come along,
Drink them all.
later on, he would say, "Who's been here, Mary or Jimmy?" Whenever he'd say, "Where'd that beer go?" You know, I didn't drink it. He'd say, "Who's been here, Mary or Jimmy?" Well, there was one time they were around one another, you know.
I've heard that Mary had a bit of a drinking habit.
She's got a problem.
Does she still drink?
Oh, I think she lives in it.
She got pretty bad.
I just hate
But
for her
tell
to be that way.
tell him about Mary though before she started drinking. Mary was very pretty
Back
girl.
where they had that red.
Very pretty girl. And
Her husband,
had
you know,
everything that there was to have.
She wasn't like that then, you know. Back when she was working.
Well, I don't know, Daisy. Whenever they get started as young as the way Mary May knows that she got started as young as she was, that when her daddy would come in and said, "Mary, have you been drinking?" and she wouldn't have been over 15, and it would have been the vodka that doesn't smell on the breath, vodka that you drink it and it won't smell, and maybe it wouldn't be till like later on that I would really know it, that she just passed out. And he said, "Come here, let me smell your breath." He couldn't smell nothing.
Yeah.
She would act like she was drinking, and to him, it's like she was pretty well tipsy, which she was.
Yeah.
But he said, "Come here, let me smell your breath." And she'd go over and blow her breath in his face and say, "Well, you act like you've been drinking anyway." And she'll laugh, like whenever she's talking about Susan, that she just, that, like as soon as he would have got, and it would maybe be, winter, it would
Yeah.
be pretty bad, and all she'd have to do is let that heat strike her, and she alcohol's
Not
like.
like a lead.
And he would, she said, there's many a times, boy, but he drank. Shirley knows that, like whenever that it would be that we were drinkers. What, you're not gonna put kids down. I mean, you're not supposed to. Why put kids down for something that?
Introduce yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
But she would. I will say this much: they did get started started out a lot sooner than I would have ever thought about doing, you know, Shirley. He didn't start being such a heavy drinker. It seemed like the pressure got to him a lot. When he started hauling cars, the longer he hauled,
Yeah.
and it seemed like then he would think it was more relaxing, like a drink and all, but you go on anyone, go to sleep. But you think like all around that time, when Mary May wouldn't have been very old, and like your mother had said, that whenever those really young ones go to one, if they could kind of get their eyes up to see above that counter, they'd be served, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They'd serve them.
Yeah.
Just young ones. They'd serve
They
them.
didn't want it, they'd serve anybody.
And whenever, like Jimmy and Mary and a lot of the others that they knew, go with them and all,
They served me at 15. Themselves.
they would do it.
Don't tell my mother.
Oh, okay.
I know my girls got sparks in their eyes. I drank a screwdriver one time down there at 15. Selves.
I tell you what,
I never did like it.
your daddy could tell you some stories that would curl your hair
I
more.
wish he would, but I was afraid
Jimmy
maybe
and
he
Joe
would. I mean, he's so much different now than he was, and I was afraid he wouldn't go back and tell him about
Yeah, see, I want to know the real stuff. I mean, I
What
want
did
to
you
hear.
start to say, Daisy?
I said, Jimmy and Joe both could tell some good tales.
Yes, they could. And they wouldn't have to make them up.
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't have to make them up.
They had their share of
But
fun. didn't they?
Joey, he was going to have to, you see, Joey and Becky, they've not been together for a long time.
Mhm.
I saw Becky last night.
Well, last Saturday and Sunday, it was supposed to have been that was taking care of all those children. Becky and Joey got into it, and I don't think Becky was going to let Joey have children anymore, but really, I don't think that would have made Viola mad. But anyway, from the way Helen told me, Joey was going to get her taken out front. It had something to do with some kind of classes and all. Different ones have said, until he gets away from Viola, he's not going to do very good.
Sure.
She is of her own, too.
She's very possessive. She's a very possessive woman.
You need to tell me about what you were.
What I
you and
started
your
telling you a
sister,
while
the
ago,
gambling story.
Mama knew when we were going out there that I'm not going to blame Bertha. If she hadn't started going out there, I wouldn't have followed her. I was 7 years old. I ought to have known not to follow in her footsteps because right then, she was doing wrong. She wasn't minding. Neither was I. But she waited. But when we did that, she wouldn't let it. I don't know whether we ever found out. Maybe it dawned on us later on when we would have learned about things. Or maybe we did see what they had. Now, it could have been. She would have given us a chance, I guess. She gave us a chance to come out there before she come on out. Anyway, we would have seen that they were sitting we would have got that far, almost to the railroad tracks, which they were right there.
Yeah.
And we would have seen they had something in front of them. We would have seen that whatever we would have got, and then all at once we felt the switch. And I know she hit one of us, and it was both.
Both
She-
at the
she
same
was-
time,
She had that switch word. And anyway, at that time, now, we lived in that great big, yeah, she had that, Daisy, I'll tell you what, I think she had already known where that key switch was. She didn't have to search for it. I think she had already had, the keener, the better. I mean, anyway, you've heard it said before, like children, to try to make children like, they won't listen to the hand. Well, we weren't quick with the hand. We were never quick with the hand. And I don't know whether she had already had that for us, or whether that she just knew where to get it off the tree. But I mean, she couldn't have found one any keener than that to whip us with. And I mean,
Quite
from
keen.
our bottoms on down, it was slender, the tiniest. That's what I mean. A real tiny, a keen little switch, a
That
tiny.
makes terrible streaks, but she's
Anyway.
Yes, I did. The little switches are worse than big ones.
But I'll tell you what, it was a mighty slender little tight switch to find. She knew it was going to wear as long as she wanted it to.
You got a little spout.
But anyway, she whipped one of us just as much as the other, and we know that there wasn't nothing of that. She had a great big, you would have probably seen your grandma's, an old-fashioned cook stove.
Yeah.
Anyway, whenever we got to that kitchen door, and whenever we got there, and both of us side to side dropped down, side by side to squat was no more or less what, you know, what I mean, too. How, she said, the more we cried, and now it was not, you know, we've heard some different ones say, and I think that's awful. Really. I think she had the right idea. But I've heard some say, you give a child a whipping and saying, you better shut that up.
Yeah.
Well, why not let them try and get it out of their system? Now, I'll tell you what. To this day, now your mama know that, to this very day, if there ever was, we're playing with cards, I had a deck of cards, do anything. Wouldn't do any good for them trying to teach me how to. The guy couldn't.
the king.
Now, I know that cue. I know that cue. That's for the queen on that card, or the king, or J the jack, or, but some of those, like, what do you call it, the spade and the
Spades and clubs, hearts, diamonds.
I never can get it straight out.
She used to sit and watch us all play penny.
I like to watch him. I like to watch him play, you know.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have never ever see a deck of cards, or like I like to watch him on television play.
She wouldn't know how to keep a flash.
I couldn't do
She wouldn't know
it.
what
I guess there's a lot of the, you know what I mean. That I've heard of Rummy. I've heard of a lot of them.
Yeah.
But
But just never got interested since that time, huh?
No way.
no way. I've not got it in me to. Well, I'll tell you what. At least, I mean, we didn't mind her. As far as what we were doing, well, maybe it was good for us.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe if I wouldn't have never had that happen, I would have turned out to be one of the worst gamblers, and I wouldn't have had no money left to pay bills. I mean, it can get in your blood.
Oh, yeah.
I know Daddy was a gambler.
It can get in your blood. That's what I've heard.